This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What am I, an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Hello and welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Sunday, September 22nd. This is episode 266. My name is Dan Ellis.
I'm Ryan Duffy.
And I'm Ryan Duffy.
Fuck.
There's two of you.
We're always good.
Two Mr. Duffys.
Two's better than one.
Two's better than one?
Yeah, that's where like the Twix commercials and stuff go, right?
Sure. The left side and right side.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those commercials
good and evil
are kind of fun sometimes, and other times they bother me.
What about double mint gum?
Double your pleasure?
Yeah.
Double your fun?
Oh, yeah.
They always used to have, in the 80s and 90s, they always had like twins.
Yeah.
For all of their commercials.
Playing all the
sports. Do they still make double mint gum?
They gotta make the gum, but they don't make those commercials anymore.
No.
Do they make the gum still?
I would think so.
Probably. I would guess so. I don't know. I don't chew gum these days.
I'd be fairly certain my grandfather's probably keeping them in business still.
Like I used to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and now I just kick ass.
Like my grandpa always has a freezer full of gum.
A freezer full of gum?
Yeah.
Like the whole freezer's full of gum?
Like the value packs of like gum.
Uh-huh.
There's like 10 packs in the thing.
Yeah.
He would just have like a few stacks of those in the freezer.
How did that jingle go? I know it was catchy, but I can't remember it.
Double your pleasure, double your fun,
mm-hmm.
Double your something. I don't know. Let's look
double
it up.
mint gum.
With double mint gum. Yeah.
Double mint gum?
Double mint. It's Mr. Romney's gum.
Peppermint.
Double mint gum commercial.
You can still get it.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. Let's see. This is the double mint gum commercial, it says. Published in 2008.
And once again, that's not working.
God damn it! Well...
I just David Smalley'd.
We'll have to look at the double mint gum commercial afterward. I was gonna say, I was thinking something along those lines earlier, and I can't remember what it was that I was gonna make a comment about. Anyway, what have you guys been up to lately?
Wood turning, making pens.
Wood turning, making pens?
Yeah, I made some pens yesterday and having fun with that. And last week I was gone at a car fundraiser thingy that we ended up raising $1,200 for somebody.
Nice.
And yeah, that's
$1,200.
Yep.
$1,200.
Yeah.
As one of my old friends would say.
Dollars.
Like
Like a dollop.
$1,200.
Yes, that's why I was gone last weekend. I was like, I'm just going to go in the morning then. He was all like, I don't think anybody's going to show up. And freaking out. I'm like, okay, I'll fucking help you out. I'll be there.
I'll abandon the podcast this week to go and do this other thing.
Then I ended up getting nominated to be the guy calling ticket numbers and stuff, like, because we did all the money was raised through raffle or drawing. I can't remember which way you're supposed to say it in this state.
Prize drawing.
A prize drawing.
We can't have raffles, but we can have prize drawings.
Yeah. So we just had a
fucking stupid rule.
It is. It's ridiculous. So we just had a bunch of items that were donated, different gift baskets and stuff. So we ended up doing a bunch of raffle stuff at a Cars and Coffee, and
I think you mean prize drawing stuff.
Prize drawing stuff at a Cars and Coffee, and raised $1,200 for my buddy's friend she's going through cancer for the third time.
Oh, geez.
So
it's very tenacious.
Yeah.
Is it the same kind of cancer each time?
I'm not 100% sure if it was the same kind each time. But it's her third time having to go through cancer and go through chemo. And, the last 2 times, I guess she thought she had it beat and was wrong.
Fucking cancer sucks, man.
Yeah.
No es bueno. No es banjo at all.
No good.
I don't like cancer. Well, sure, join the club. Everybody hates cancer. It's terrible. Except the person who created it. I mean, if you believe in God, then that whole thing.
Yeah.
Then where does it come from? Well, it's because of our fallen nature and blah blah blah.
And with everyone else getting sick and stuff, I'm always like,
it's all your fault that you got. It's actually even not your fault. It's Adam's fault that people get cancer now because
true.
Right.
He ate a piece of fruit.
Well, Eve, technically.
Yeah. Well, and they go back and forth on whether it's Adam or Eve.
It's Eve.
Yeah. And but
I don't know.
That's how all the bad things happen in the world is because the first person on the world ate a piece of fruit and God knew it would happen anyway, but
well, the first person that was written about anyway, because there was clearly other people around.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because where did all of their sons' wives come from?
Right.
Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And wasn't Cain banished to some other city?
Yes.
Nod?
Nod, yeah.
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 The city of Nod.
He
Yep.
just gave you a nod.
That already had people in it for
some
whatever
weird reason.
Yeah. Yeah. All of these fun things about the Bible that are delicious.
Which is why it's true 100%. Literally true.
All the contradictory stories. Yeah, they're all fine.
But I also decided to make an adult decision this week.
Oh yeah?
I don't go see a doctor ever.
No?
No.
Ever? Never.
Besides
That's the decision you've made? I don't go see the doctor ever.
No, besides my yearly physical for work,
Uh-huh.
which just says, hey, your heart won't explode this time. You can work.
This time.
Yeah. So I'm like, let's go get a fucking doctor's appointment and start doing shit adults are supposed to do.
So you just went in for like a
No, actually, I'm scheduled tomorrow for
what?
routine physical to get. See if there's anything that needs any kind of preventative maintenance that needs to be done on this lovely sex machine here.
What kind of maintenance plan do I require going forward?
I just hope he doesn't need to check the oil.
Eventually he will.
I hear that's not until you're 40, but
I got mine done.
Fat Finger.
Yeah,
I got mine out of the way.
So here's the funny thing.
It's not that bad.
Yeah,
a buddy of mine has had prostate issues in the past, and he was saying, "Yeah, the doctor drew my numbers from my blood and gave me my prostate results." I'm like, "Wait, he drew your blood and is telling you the health of your prostate?" He's like, "Yeah." So he doesn't need to shove a finger up your ass? He's like, "No, he just does blood work on me to tell me how my prostate's doing."
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "Huh." So do they just like shoving a finger up your ass?
Well, they check for several different things
lumps
when they do
to
that.
see the texture for cancer, but because he had a cancer scare with it, now he just draws numbers on it and stuff. And
what are they, PSL or something?
Yeah,
like
PSL, PSI, P. Yeah, it starts with the P.
Something
for your prostate.
Yeah, prostate level something or prostate something level. Yeah, I remember when Forrest was going through all of that, and he would post his prostate numbers, and it was like
hey, a normal
astronomically high.
number is below 10, and I'm at 2,000.
Yeah. That's probably you're several parts away from the standard deviation. This is not a good thing. Yeah. What else? Anything else?
That's about it.
Yeah, and you?
This will be my last show for a little while. Because I'm going to visit the Two Skeptical Chaps bunker.
Gonna infiltrate? Or visit.
So,
sorry.
Raffle.
They've been making fun of the place you decided to stay at a lot.
Yeah, I know, they have. They have been.
Because it's not a great place, I guess?
No, they don't have anything. They don't have anything against it, per se, as far as I can tell. They just think it's an odd choice, but the decision was kind of based on the fact that the first few days somewhere in there, we're going to be taking a trip down to the Jurassic Coast and Stonehenge, which is southwest.
Okay.
So we're staying kind of
central of all the places you want to go to.
Yeah, we're staying kind of southwest or west central London area rather than like central London or like Dan was saying by his house. So I don't know. That's what they're making fun of me for.
Well, and didn't you tell me that like it's a pretty short distance from like where you're staying to his place, but it's this astronomical amount of time to actually commute there?
That's I think why to them it sounds so silly because they're aware of travel times through London, because it's 89 miles from where I'm staying to Stonehenge, and it's like a little over an hour drive. And it's 13 miles from where I'm staying to Dan's house, and it's about the same amount of time.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like 50 minutes or something.
I thought traffic in downtown Salt Lake was bad.
Yeah.
Oy.
So,
Well, at least once you get into like London, you got a lot. They do a lot better with public transit than we do here in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and public transit in Utah is kind of a joke.
It is a joke.
Yeah.
It's fucking
The
horrible.
hours that they run and the places it's available is...
Yeah. The whole, well, we don't run till past 11 o'clock on weekends. It's like
Hope you're not going to a concert or a
concert
bar
or a basketball game or anything, because
any kind of event that is going to end after 11.
And they only run on Sundays when the fucking Mormon church has something going on.
Yeah. When there's...
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, most of it is shut down on Sunday. They'll run it on Sundays during general conference.
Yeah, that's it.
Because there's so many people around downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, UTA.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. So let's see, what else? What did I do over the last... Oh, I went and saw It Too.
I saw it too.
And I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. A lot of people are shitting on it, but it was fun. It was a good time. I liked it very much. And fucking Skarsgård as Pennywise is really, really good.
Like the one scene where he's rubbing the makeup on his face, I was like, you can actually see him in there, and it's like, that's freaky as fuck.
Yeah. I think Bill Hader did a good job.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think, did a really good job in the show, and it was just fun.
Is it hard to take Bill Hader seriously?
He didn't take it serious, and he was being a jokey person for like 85% of the movie.
Well, and that's
really?
That's one of the complaints that people have about the movie is that it tried to be too comedic. But I appreciated the little comedic breaks.
His character was a stand-up comedian, kind of like himself.
Yeah.
And in a stressful situation, he's going to what he knows. He's trying to be funny.
Yeah. Well, and he's fairly serious in his new HBO show called Barry.
Yeah.
Is it Showtime?
Yeah, I like that show. I think it's Showtime.
Is it Showtime?
Mm-hmm.
That's good, though. I like that show.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty serious character in that. I mean, it definitely has a lot of comedy in it, but
he was serious.
His character is pretty serious. Yeah.
I'm pretty so-so about him as it is.
Yeah.
I like him. There was a few cinematic things they did in the movie. I kind of was like, why did you do that?
Like what?
Like there's a scene like kind of near the beginning where they decided to do a shitty day for night swap by making everything blue. Like they're walking in the street and I'm looking at them I'm like, that's a rookie move. I'm like, you shot this during the daytime, but you wanted to make it look like it was later than it actually was. So you just flooded everything with blue colors, like in post, like made it look blue. It's like, I can tell what you did. You shot that when it was during the bright daylight and you didn't want it to be daytime. You wanted it to be nighttime. So you did a really shitty day for night fucking swap in there. And it's like, that didn't look good.
See, these are things that video and film people would know that I don't.
Yeah. There's just a few times where I saw something. I'm like, why did you make that?
An odd choice.
You have a good budget. Why did you go with the really low budget way of performing this to pull that off?
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought everything else. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah.
For the most part. So.
Oh yeah, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I went with Tracy's mother and brother because Tracy doesn't like scary movies.
Yeah.
And she's actually right now watching the Downton Abbey movie.
Yeah.
With her mother and sister, I believe. It's just not something I'm into.
Me neither.
I'm sure it's a decent show. She loves period costume show stuff. The more British, the better. I like some of it, but I don't know. If I have a choice, it's not like high on my list to watch that kind of stuff. What else? Oh, I shot a 38 on Tuesday from the Blues at Valley View.
Oh,
I shot a 38 on the front.
I'm like,
you shot a 38 special? I'm like, what's so...
A lot of people have that gun.
Yeah.
No, that's 2 over par. That's one of the best 9s I've played. I think it's definitely the best 9 I've played all year there, so...
Out
I was
of
pretty
what?
happy about that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Out of 36's par, and I shot a 38 on the front from the Blues, which is pretty good. I was pretty happy. I was thinking that if I maintained that through the back 9, that it would have given me a new scoring record, but No, the wheels fell off on the
You
back.
fucked up.
Wheels fell off on the back, but I've figured a couple things out with my drive, and that's what really helped. Now I need to figure out my fucking short game and my long approaches, because I keep. So when you're in your golf swing and you take your back swing and then you come through, you on my follow through, I keep like standing up, and so I keep topping the fucking ball almost every shot off the fairway, and it's driving me nuts. When I make a conscious effort to not do that, then I'm usually okay, but I don't know. It's something I need to work on.
What if you stand a tiny bit closer to the ball?
Yeah, I could do that also. There's so many different little tweaks that you can do, moving the ball forward or backward in your stance,
right?
Changing how quickly you transition to your forward swing, the swing plane that you have, where you grip the club, there's a ton of little tweaks and shit.
Make sure you're driving the club head through the ball.
Yeah.
With your irons.
Yeah, through the ball and not worried.
That's why golf is so fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's because there's so many things like that.
Micro adjustments on every shot, yeah. And then I had debate prep with Greg on last Saturday, and that went very well. I figured it would take us a couple hours to go through stuff, and I think he was here for a little over 4 hours, or right about 4 hours. And I'm growing more and more anxious about this as the day approaches. From everything I can find about James White, he's a presuppositionalist, and I don't know. This is my first public debate, my first formal public debate, and it's causing some anxiety. There are some of the rules aren't hard and fast yet. We're still working those out. And then he's a very seasoned debater. I think he's done more than 100 public debates. And
according to him,
this will be my very first one. And he's a presuppositionalist. And I don't know. It makes it really difficult. It seems like a sneaky, tricky thing to work in there that, you can't even say anything against presuppositionalism because there's no basis on which I can say anything against it because I have to borrow from his worldview. And that just seems like a greasy, slimy thing to say. Like, anything you say only confirms everything that I'm saying.
It's a cheat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So I've got to try to figure out some response to that. I don't know. And then because it's, 2-on-2 debate, but there's only, one opening for each side, one rebuttal, one closing. That's going to make it difficult. I think, Greg will probably end up just doing the whole opening. When we met, he's like, well, we could split it up but I'm going to have to cut back some of my time on stuff. So I think we'll just have him do the full opening and then maybe I'll do the rebuttal.
Is it set to be a 2-hour debate or is it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's from 7 to 9 at the Behavioral and Social Health Sciences Building Auditorium at the University of Utah.
I'll have to Google that.
October 3rd at 7 p.m.
It's where your uncle is.
All of the information is posted on Atheists of Utah's event page on Facebook, and also whatever church is sponsoring this. I can't even remember the name of the church, but
I'll be there. So if anybody listening wants to come and join our cheer section for Dan, you're more than welcome to come join us.
Yes, everybody come and witness Dan's embarrassing moments where he's going to crash and burn really hard. I
think you'll do great.
Thanks, man. I have some real concerns, but either way, I'm going to learn from it, so that's good.
Yeah.
And if I learn that I should never do this again, then that's probably a really good thing to figure out now. But no, it'll be fun either way, I'm sure. I just hope I don't suck too hard. Because like I say, he's a very seasoned debater. He knows what he's talking about. He's clearly studied the Bible front to back. He has helped rewrite like a newer, more modern version of the Bible.
Wait, so he's God?
No.
I thought only God wrote the Bible.
Well, it's fixing some transcription translation problems.
Like Joseph did when he did the second Book of Mormon.
Sure.
Okay.
Fixing minor errors here and there.
Okay.
It's not that, it's anything wrong with what God has said or anything. It's just, language errors as you're translating and transcribing things from one language to another and that kind of stuff. Other than that, the Bible's perfect.
So he's just continuing the game of telephone.
Kind of. But I mean, like I say, he's clearly studied it a whole lot. He, like I said, worked on this panel to fix or publish a newer version of the Bible where they say they have fixed some things that were wrong, some translation issues and stuff like that. And he's a smart guy. I mean, he's debated people like Dan Barker, David Silverman, other prominent names in the atheist movement. And yeah, so it'll be a very big challenge. But I think what works in our favor is the premise of the debate.
Yeah.
That not only does God exist, but does the triune God of the Bible exist? And that, I think, is a pretty heavy lift for their side. So, I don't know, kind of evens out, maybe, a little bit, I hope. that they have to prove something, that specific, and I'm not at all. I mean, like I said, this will be my first formal debate, so hopefully that'll work out. But I don't know. We'll have to see. If you haven't been able to tell because I am stumbling over my words and everything now, I'm feeling very anxious about it. It's causing some anxiety whenever I think about it late at night. Like, have I studied enough about this? Do I know enough? What else can I look into? And then I have little panic attacks. It'll be awesome. It'll be great. I'm so looking forward to it. But we have a bunch of other things to talk about on today's show. We'll do that when we get back.
Okay.
Hi, this is Christine Stenquist with Truce, Together for Responsible Use in Cannabis Education. If you're interested in medical cannabis in Utah, follow us on our social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Truce Utah. If you're interested in donating to our awesome nonprofit, go to truceutah.org. And thank you so much for listening to the Godless Rebelution podcast.
There is a man from the land of Uz.
Book of Job.
The Book of Job. Story of God's perfect servant, Job. He prayed every day at dawn with his knees on the ground, his face in the dirt. Slaughtered 10 goats, one for each of his children, and burned them at the altar in God's honor. Of all God's soldiers, Job, he was the most loyal.
I know the story, Matthew.
Oh, then you know what happens next. God murdered all 10 of his children in cold blood. Scorched every inch of Job's land, lashed at his body till his skin was covered in bloody welts. God rained shit and misery on the life of his most perfect servant, and still, Job would not curse him. You know what I realized? Job was a pussy.
You and the Godless Rebelution will be reassimilated in 3, 2, 1.
So before the break, we were talking about double mint gum.
Yeah.
And trying to listen to the commercial, and our sound settings are all fucked up because Microsoft publishes updates that fuck up my sound settings all the time. But we did find several different commercials. This one is pretty much the mainstream of what we were talking about, with the double mint cum twins everywhere.
Double mint cum.
Man, this is like... It's like every bad 80s comedy show, all of the openings for all of the old 80s shows like Full House and shit, where it's little clips of them doing something silly and then looking at the camera like, oh, I'm so silly.
There's no single gum like it.
There's no single gum like it.
It's kind of like when you want to make a shitty, funny commercial, you emulate that.
Yeah, let's look at really terrible things that we used to do in the 70s and 80s and 90s
and recreate it.
Yeah, because they were hugely successful back then, and now we can relive about how silly they are.
No.
Speaking of silly things,
yeah. Oh, segue.
We've got. I'm still feeling. So during the break, I was telling these guys that I'm not bullshitting about the anxiety that the debate is causing. Like, late at night, as I'm laying in bed or sitting in the kitchen or doing whatever, it's just like I start thinking about the debate and what I need to do and what else I need to look at. And how terrible this could potentially go. And it starts feeling like someone has sucked the oxygen out of the room. It's just like, is there enough air in here right now? I can't seem to catch my breath right now. It's a little, my. Yeah. Still having, just even talking about it gives me a little anxiety. Talking about the anxiety that it causes anxiety.
Anxiety-induced anxiety.
It'll be good. It'll be fun. I'll learn stuff.
It'll be enjoyable.
Yeah. But speaking of old things that are silly, it's nice to see that Tennessee's living up to all of their really terrible stereotypes that people have about Tennessee.
Always.
I can't remember, and I apologize for whichever listener sent us this story originally. And it's been a little while because we had guests on and other things, and I haven't been able to get to it. But I thought this was interesting that, according to the independent Harry Potter books removed from school library because they contain real curses and spells.
If they're so real, try them out and see what happens.
Yeah, like, how hard is it to test the claim?
Yeah. It says Reverend Dan Rehill, pastor of St. Edward Catholic School in Nashville, Tennessee, says he consulted with Vatican exorcists before making the unpopular decision.
Vatican exorcists.
I mean, if you're going to go to an authority on, stupid bullshit, you should absolutely go to the Catholic exorcists.
I wonder if the exorcist was like, yep, no joke. I used that one from Harry Potter to vanquish a demon in Rome.
Dude, you should see me fly around in a broom. It's wicked cool, but we don't want kids in school doing this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the chaos? This story says a Roman Catholic school in Tennessee has banished J.K. Rowling's universally popular series of Harry Potter novels from its library shelves after its pastor took exception to their portrayal of magic, warning the spells and curses the author describes are real and risk conjuring evil spirits when read.
Mm-hmm.
The Reverend Dan Rehill explained his decision in an email to the parents of students at St. Edward Catholic School in Nashville, declaring that he had consulted with exorcists in the U.S. and at the Vatican before outlawing the 7-volume tale of the boy wizard's career at Hogwarts and his battle against Lord Voldemort and the forces of darkness.
Now, these books are extremely popular.
Mm-hmm.
They've been read millions of times.
Yeah.
How many people have had weird spirits conjured from their book while reading it in their house?
I'd imagine all of them.
If it was true, there would be shitloads everywhere and all these kids would be dead.
Story continues with a quote from Reverend Dan Rehill where he says, "These books present magic as both good and evil, which is not true, but in fact a clever deception. The curses and spells used in these books are actual curses and spells, which when read by a human being risk conjuring evil spirits into the presence of the person reading the text." He wrote, apparently in all seriousness.
Wait a second.
That's actually in the story. That's what he wrote in all seriousness.
The other thing about it too is when did this book come out? 2000, 99, 98? I don't know, something like that.
90s, I think. Yeah.
So it takes 20 years for the righteous people to actually figure it out.
But
they're just a little behind the curve.
I got a little bit of the confusion here. So there's no such thing as a good or evil or good spells. They're all evil. They're all bad.
Oh, sure.
Yet he goes to exorcists who use their spells to get rid of evil. So won't those be good spells that these exorcists use?
Right.
The story continues and says Rebecca Hamill, the superintendent of schools for the Catholic Diocese of Nashville, told the Tennessean that the Reverend Rehill had indeed sent the email and has the final say on the matter since the Catholic Church does not have an official position on Ms. Rowling's best-selling series. Each pastor has a canonical authority to make such decisions for his parish school, she said. He's well within his authority to act in that manner.
Okay.
The school has recently opened a new library for its students, Ms. Hamill explained, prompting the faculty to reassess its catalog. I know that in the process they were going through and kind of weeding out some of the content in hopes of sprucing it up and improving the circulation, she said. Ms. Hamill did say the school would not stand in the way of students reading Harry Potter at their parents' discretion. Should parents deem that this or any other media to be appropriate, we would hope that they would just guide their sons and daughters to understand the content through the lens of our faith, Hamill said. So she's saying, I want you to put on bullshit tinted lenses.
Yep.
And then read these books.
I think what she's really saying is, while you read this book, make sure mommy's praying next to you so none of them evil spirits jump out.
We really don't get into censorship in such selections other than making sure that we put in our school libraries is age-appropriate materials for our classrooms.
Like the Bible?
Yeah, talking about, murdering people and children and rape and incest and
more murder,
dragons and talking donkeys and talking snakes,
torture.
Speaking of the Bible, maybe this is how it got started. Someone wrote a fantasy novel and everyone's like, them spells is real.
Well, and it's funny to me that, he's saying that we can't have this because these spells are real and they could conjure up demonic people in the presence of people who are reading it in their homes or wherever. Dude, you pray all the time. You're trying to cast magic spells every fucking time you do that.
Yep.
You just think that your magic is so much more special. And if it's a real concern, is that saying that your magic isn't strong enough to handle this other magic?
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between Hocus Pocus and Dear Lord?
Well, that magic is dark magic, and it could be more powerful. Or you may need to not even know how to comprehend it or handle it. It's just going to overwhelm you with that demonic, satanic presence in you. In when you're reading this book, it's just going to be awful and bad.
It reminds me of that shitty Ghost Hunter guy from that shitty Ghost Hunter TV show that made a whole shitty
you
documentary.
Mean like every Ghost Hunter show
No, I'm talking about like the real, like the guy that always wore the Affliction
real
t-shirts,
Ghost Hunter.
the real douchebaggy one.
Which one? There's so many.
Josh Baggins? Zach Baggins?
I don't know.
He had the
Dildo
paranormal
Baggins?
something. I can't remember the name. He had a really horrible show. Guys left because they said it's fake as shit.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Like there are real ghost hunting.
Well, he thinks he is.
Yeah, that one is
But
garbage.
he bought that house that supposedly had the portal to hell in it.
Mm.
Wouldn't allow anyone else in there to do any research on the place.
I'm just trying to protect you.
Made a full documentary movie about the place and then had it torn down. He just said it was too evil for anyone else to go in there. You gotta believe me.
I can't leave this gateway to hell open.
Pretty much. He's like, so I tore it down. So now I look at my shit. Here it is. No one else can look at it because I tore the place down.
Oh.
Well, not only did he tear it down, he had the place torn up down, and then the contents of the house put into storage container boxes and locked away so that way whatever evil spirits were latched onto it wouldn't end up in a city dump and be found out, or I don't know. He had some weird ritualistic reason for putting all the contents of it into storage containers so that way it couldn't get out.
These are ghosts who can travel through walls and shit, but this shipping container ought to hold them.
It's gonna hold it. It's like the fucking building that they put the Ark in at the end of fucking Indiana Jones.
The big warehouse.
Yeah. That's where it is.
It'll just stay here forever. As long as nobody disturbs it, it'll be fine.
Just fine.
They need to feel a live spirit in the area before they'll decide to come out and harass you. Otherwise, they're just going to take a nap. They're just gonna hang out in the shipping container. They've got nothing else to do.
Yeah, we left it plenty of milk and cookies.
It's just stupid bullshit. I can't believe some of the silly things that people do in the name of religion.
And they're adults.
Yeah. It's, well, kind of. I mean, they're
physically.
Yeah. Chronologically, adulthood has been reached, but
that's what my mom says about me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, your mom's awesome. What did you bring for us this week, Matt? Oh. I'm throwing you on the spot. Sorry.
It's all right. Let me just make some paper ruffling noises with my mouth real quick. This is a story-ish by Adam Lee. Mr. Adam Lee. I don't know who he is.
Adam Lee?
Oh.
He's an atheist.
Oh, okay.
When the obituary is written for Christianity in America, Fields versus Speaker of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives will merit at least a footnote. In this verdict, a federal court ruled that the Pennsylvania legislature could invite guest chaplains to offer prayers, opening prayers, while barring atheists from giving secular invocations.
Oh.
It's clear that the intent and effect is to favor Christianity. Although the state house has had few token representatives of other religions, the overwhelming majority of legislative prayers, over 90%, have been given by Christian clergy.
Well, that just makes sense because we's all Christians, or most of us are Christians.
It's a
here
Christian
in the United
nation.
States.
This is a disastrous decision. It consigns Pennsylvania's atheist and agnostic citizens to second-class status, denying them equal opportunity before the law and shutting them out from the elected officials who are supposed to represent them. It's the definition of a religious test, something the U.S. Constitution explicitly forbids. The court's ruling sidestepped these arguments and asserted that legislative prayer passes muster merely because of historical tradition, an absurd argument that implies that constitutional violations become okay if they've gone on for long enough. Also ignores the most historical of traditions in the Constitution itself, right?
Which is...
If they're going by historical tradition, but ignoring the Constitution, then there's already a problem with that.
Yeah.
I have a message to religious conservatives who are cheering. Be careful what you wish for. The more that state and church are entangled, the worse it will be for the church. Of course, since I'm an atheist, I might be accused of offering this advice in bad faith. Apologists might say that Christianity is on the verge of revival and that I'm seeking to sabotage them at the moment of triumph. To this I say, have you seen Europe lately? Europe has tied church to state for centuries, but instead of helping the church, this bond has drained it of vitality. Christianity as a faith is on life support all over the continent. In over a dozen countries, congregations are shrinking and graying. Absolute majorities of the young profess no religious belief. Vacant churches are being converted into bookstores, gyms, pubs, and skating rinks. America is headed down the same road. Although we don't yet have an officially established religion, the Republican Party has tied Christianity tightly to a narrowly partisan and conservative set of policy priorities. They've spent the past several decades insisting that being Christian meant politically opposing LGBTQ rights, reproductive choice and science, supporting war, and tax cuts for the rich. More recently, pro-family evangelicals in the 90s offered thundering denunciations of President Bill Clinton's admitted infidelity. Then, since the last presidential election, all but bowed down to worship a Republican president who is twice divorced, bragged about sexually assaulting women, and paid hush money to cover up his affairs. Now some Christian leaders are further cheering the separation of immigrant families, particularly at the border, as well as the brutal treatment of asylum seekers, while demanding that the borders be slammed shut to keep out the tired, the poor, and the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. When such Christian leaders loudly insist that you can't be Christian if you don't vote Republican, or if you disagree with any part of the agenda, people act accordingly. They note the obvious hypocrisy, they become disillusioned and cynical about religion's claims to moral superiority, and they head for the exits. And the demographics bear this out. The United States is heading down the same path of religious rejection as Europe. Less than a third of Americans say that they attend church weekly, and a record low percentage of people say that they have confidence in organized religion. The two largest Christian denominations, Southern Baptists and Roman Catholics, have seen their membership sink to multi-decade lows. Meanwhile, the non-religious have seen surging numbers. For the first time, they're in a tie for first among religious demographics. So that's interesting.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's not like our population is decreasing in size. It's still increasing, certainly not as fast as it has in past decades, but the population is still going up, and the overall numbers as a percentage of the population are still going down in churches across the nation.
The withering of Christianity is especially apparent among the young. Millennials were dubbed the least Christian generation in American history until the next generation, the up-and-coming Generation Z, took that title from them. According to the polling firm Barna Research, as little as 4% of teenagers hold what they define as a biblical worldview. 4%, that's tiny.
Wow.
The conservative commentator Peter Wiener quotes a friend.
Well, that's just redundant.
Yeah. Quotes a friend who laments, "We're losing an entire generation. They're just gone. It's one of the worst things that can happen to the church." And yet we're still getting rulings like Fields in Pennsylvania, privileging religion and de facto Christianity above all else. With a newly conservative Supreme Court majority, it's unlikely the ruling will be overturned, which means we can expect more states to follow Pennsylvania's lead and ladle out special privileges for Christianity. But government favoritism won't reverse the decline in America's religiosity. It will accelerate it. As Europe's example shows, when churches are propped up by the government, people lose interest in following religion of their own free will. In their pursuit of worldly power and dominion, American churches, especially conservative ones, threw away the moral authority they once possessed. Now, as their prestige declines and their membership ebbs, they're clutching at state support. They think it's a lifeline that will save them. Instead, it will prove to be a millstone that drags them yet further down.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
Because we see it happening all over the place.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah. And it's disheartening to see even the quote-unquote liberals on the Supreme Court often siding with cases like this.
Well, they're all Catholics.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all religious people. I mean, their religious beliefs have poisoned everything that they do. And so I'm not surprised necessarily that they go along with it, but it is disheartening and disappointing that, these people who are supposed to be the arbiters of law are going against what the law actually says because of tradition. The law doesn't say that we should have a separation of religion and government as long as it hasn't been a tradition that, they have mingled.
Right.
That's not what it says. And so, it's disheartening and...
Yeah, and the frustrating bit about that is that even though everyone recognizes, even though the way that the country works is that we try to get our side of the aisle seated on the Supreme Court, and then there's usually some of one group and some of the other political party, there are never any representatives of the faithless.
Yeah.
So we go unrepresented in the Supreme Court.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And we are underrepresented all throughout government agencies. And I mean, when you look at the House, the
unrepresented.
Senate, any government agency or government body that you look at, we are hugely underrepresented as far as our numbers go. And I can only hope that the coming generations will not only realize that and run for office, but that they'll actually get out and vote.
Yeah.
The reason that these fuckers are in power in the first place is because the people who agree with them go out and vote, and the people who disagree stay home. They don't vote. So your vote matters. I hope everybody gets registered to vote and actually goes out and votes according to your beliefs and preferences. Hopefully you're going to be voting blue, but at this point, I just wish that more people were actively involved and knew what the fuck was going on instead of, it doesn't really concern me, doesn't really affect me, it doesn't, my single vote isn't going to make a change.
Well,
when your single vote is counted with the single votes of every other person who agrees with you, then it does make a difference. Yeah. You just need to get out and actually fucking vote. And that hasn't been the trend that we've seen. I mean, we saw with Obama a lot more young people getting out to vote.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen with Trump and Hillary.
No.
And a lot of that is because she was an uninspiring candidate or whatever. But I mean, you still should go out and vote, even if they're not inspiring for you, because otherwise you end up with fucking clowns in the Oval Office.
I mean, Obama got elected with some of the highest voter turnouts, and Trump got elected with some of the lowest.
Yeah. And he still lost the popular vote.
Yeah.
Because he's that much of a dickhead.
And he doesn't like to... I never heard him say, we had the most people elect me. You had...
Well, actually, aside from all of the millions of votes that were cast illegally by illegal immigrants, the oranges of which we don't really know, but I think they're all Mexican, Mexicans from Guatemala and Mexicans from El Salvador, Mexicans from all of those shithole countries, what I mean?
I think more people voted for McCain than voted for Trump when McCain lost.
Probably. We'd have to double check that. That might be true.
I thought it was.
Could be. Well, we'll check on that in the break, and then we'll come back and let you know for sure.
Aloha, everybody. This is Nico Gonzalez, former Jehovah's Witness and a content producer for the Conversations with God podcast. Be on the lookout for my own show, coming soon, called If I Was God. You're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Dad, today at school, my teacher said we evolved from other animals. That's not true, is it?
Of course not, Stephen. We were created by Monkey God in his monkey image.
But how do we know for sure God's a monkey?
Well, do you think God throws his own poop and enjoys jumping up and down in place?
Yeah.
And do you think when he's eating bananas, he periodically stops chewing and looks around with an angry expression to make sure no one's plotting to steal them?
Yeah.
And do you think his ass is slightly less hairy than the rest of his body?
Yeah.
Then there's your answer, champ.
Okay, but how do we know God really loves us?
Because his son died for our sins. Monkey Jesus could have ripped off the Romans' arms and masturbated all over their bodies, but he chose love instead. And I think that makes him pretty darn special.
Cool. Thanks, Dad.
Rejoining the Godless Rebelution podcast now.
So we're not coming back from this one with like no more outdated advertisements from the 80s and shit?
I figure, one segment of that per show is enough.
Yeah. I'm glad we got rid of all those old outdated commercials and we've gone over and made better commercials nowadays.
Sure, because, being outdated is something that we should always be mindful of.
Yeah.
We can't go back as far as the 80s.
No. No.
So we're attempting a segue into this story coming to us from Dead State. This is a Minnesota Public School Board chairwoman. Evolution is outdated because it was discovered in the 1800s.
How the fuck can you even say that?
Oh, well, let's find out. Brainerd, Minnesota. During a board meeting that included a presentation on the biology curriculum to be taught at a local high school, the chairwoman of the Brainerd School Board questioned the validity of teaching evolution, suggesting that it's an outdated theory that's incompatible with Christian beliefs.
But wait, how old is that Christian belief?
According to the Star Tribune, Sue Kern spoke up during the meeting saying she had a question about evolution. Darwin's theory was done in the mid-1800s and it's never been proven, she said, so I'm wondering why we're still teaching it. So maybe it's because people like you don't fucking understand evolution and that's why we still need to teach it?
Yeah.
It's the basic foundation for all life on Earth.
Maybe you shouldn't speak these outdated words coming out of your mouth in the form of English.
When district staff who gave the presentation pointed out to Kern that Darwin's theory of evolution has only gotten stronger as the time has gone on, she wondered about those whose religious beliefs reject evolution. How do you tell them? Kern asked. This is science, and science doesn't deal with a belief system, Brainerd science teacher Craig Rezek shot back. We deal with facts. It doesn't have to be a dilemma or a concern with someone to choose between evolution or Christianity, he added. You can actually embrace both. Sort of.
No, not
you got to jump through all kinds of hoops.
You can't embrace both.
Yeah. And I've heard even like quote-unquote Christian scholars say that, well, sure, evolution may be happening, but it's on a micro level, not the macro level.
It was started by God.
Yeah, and, we start out with kinds, and then those kinds can mix together.
Shut up, Ken. Ken, be quiet. Go back to your fucking ark.
That's pretty ham-fisted argument. After the exchange made local news, Brainerd Public Schools Superintendent Lane Larson issued a statement saying that Kern's comments reflect her personal views and do not reflect the views of the Board of Education as a whole or the Brainerd Public School District. The district's approved science curriculum aligns with the Minnesota state standards, the statement read, adding that the Board of Education unanimously approved the science and biology curriculum at Monday's meeting. From the Star Tribune, Minnesota courts have upheld the teaching of evolution. In 2001, the State Court of Appeals upheld the removal of a Faribault biology teacher, Rod LeVake, sounds like a Utah name.
It does.
Who argued that teaching evolution violated his Christian beliefs. He was reassigned to teach science in a lower grade.
Where they didn't teach evolution?
Where evolution wasn't part of the curriculum.
My fuck.
Okay, if you have a problem with teaching evolution at this grade level, we'll just move you down to the kiddie table where
that's what should be happening.
Things.
Yeah, that's exactly what they should do.
No, they should have reassigned him to lunch lady.
Yeah, sure.
Speaking to the Tribune, University of Minnesota biology professor Randy Moore says that disputes about evolution have been going on in schools for 100 years, adding that some teachers either downplay evolution or don't teach it at all because they're afraid for religious or local political reasons, which is something else that is hugely disconcerting, right? That just because there are a bunch of dummies out there who don't understand evolution and who think that even contemplating the idea of evolution is an evil, unbiblical sin, because of their ridiculous religious beliefs, they won't even allow actual science to be taught.
And that's how we get flat earthers.
That's how we get flat earthers. It stifles innovation. It stifles thought.
It's kind of like here in Utah with our lovely Gail Rizicchia and the Eagle Forum, trying to get them to only teach abstinence.
Mm-hmm. Abstinence only is the way to go. If you start teaching kids about sex, then they're going to want to have sex. No, they're going to want to have fucking sex regardless.
Yeah.
You should teach them how to do it safely. Yeah.
There's a reason why, what was it? Was it chlamydia? One of the STDs that's like...
It's chlamydia.
That Utah has like the highest rate of.
Yeah. Yep, because they don't teach how to have safe sex.
Yeah.
That's all about don't do it. Well, don't do it because bad things can happen. We see the bad things happening because you're not teaching them how to do it safely.
Not only do they do it a lot with a lot of different partners in an unsafe manner.
Well, I wonder if they would have abstinence-only gun courses where you never actually fire the gun at all.
Just sits there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I practice that now.
But it's like they don't seem to be able to put those things together. Like, we need to teach gun safety so the people who are using guns are safe when they do it.
Right, right.
No, we should teach that you shouldn't have any
Never
guns.
use it. Yeah.
Which is, I think that would be okay, probably. So maybe this isn't the strongest argument in favor of my position, but it still seems silly that they would be using it when they don't want to. They don't teach abstinence-only gun control.
Well, speaking of guns,
mm-hmm.
Did you see who will no longer be manufacturing AR-15s for civilians anymore?
Colt 45.
Colt is no longer going to be manufacturing AR-15s for civilians.
I saw that.
Does that mean all the Second Amendment gun nuts are going to boycott Colt now?
No, because they'll still be making them for our troops. They just won't be making them for, people like me who want to play with it also myself.
Just like when every other store boycotts or says, we're no longer going to sell that. You boycott them?
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw there's all the fucking conservatives were out there like, we're going to boycott Walmart from September 1st to September 30th. Just the month of September. We can't go more than a month without Walmart, so we're just going to do it for a month.
You know what? Well, because then they'll recognize the full economic impact of our boycott. If we do it for a limited time and then they can see their sales drop over that period of time and then go back up once we stop the boycott, then they'll know the kind of power that we wield. I guess I can see the point of that, But
Costco don't take my food stamps, so I'm back to Walmart.
Well, and I would just love for, the people who do boycotts like when Nike did its thing with Colin Kaepernick and people were burning and destroying all of their Nike gear.
Which makes no sense.
You should go and destroy all of your Colt guns.
Yep.
You should get right on that.
Yeah.
Do it now. Don't wait. Don't pass go. Don't collect your $200. Just go and destroy your guns.
But
any Colt weapon that you have, you should destroy it.
Did you see Colt's reason for why they didn't want to do it anymore?
Maybe.
They said there's already the market's flooded with AR-15s already, so why make more?
Oh, really? There are so many guns out there.
That's basically what the thing was like. There's so many out there. Economically, it doesn't make sense for us to make more of those.
Well, that's not really a good reason. I mean, it's a fine reason, but it's not a moral reason.
No, it was a business reason, being like there are so many AR-15s out there in the civilian world that we don't really, you can't make a profit on it. The market is saturated.
I thought maybe they were doing the right thing.
No, the market, like Dan said, the market's saturated with them, so they're like, we don't make money making those.
Yeah.
And the market's so saturated that prices drop on them, so.
Huh.
Yeah.
I see. What else did you bring for us today, Matt?
Well, this comes to us from Illinois.
Oh, Illinois.
Fox News. 4 students at Wheaton College in Illinois are accusing the city of Chicago, of infringing on their free speech rights, claiming that newly implemented rules prohibit them from congregating and handing out religious pamphlets in Millennium Park.
What about my free speech?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The students, who are all members of the Christian College's Chicago evangelism team, say their mission is to proclaim the gospel in the city of Chicago to whomever we find there.
Okay.
Without realizing other people also have rights.
So far, it does sound what they want to do is legal. Millennium Park it's a public space.
Okay.
So
the lawsuit filed Wednesday alleges that the students were approached by park supervisors on several occasions beginning in December of last year and told them to stop handing out pamphlets,
yes,
and free religious literature or preaching their evangelical message. The supervisors informed the group members that they were soliciting the public to subscribe to their beliefs and therefore in violation of a Chicago ordinance.
So local ordinance is stopping them from
Millennium Park is operated by the city's Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. It's divided into 11, quote, rooms or sections of to showcase various forms of art and prohibits the making of speeches and passing out of written communications in 10 of the rooms, according to the city's website. The restricted area includes the Bean, a popular tourist attraction that the college students say is prime real estate for spreading their message.
I want to flick it.
Because it's where all the fucking tourists go.
But city rules explicitly prohibit any, quote, conduct that objectively interferes, close quote, with patrons and park goers' ability to enjoy the featured art.
I understand that.
Yeah, don't be bothering people.
I mean, that park, it's a famous park.
Yeah.
It's a very touristy area.
Yeah.
So they want to keep it that way, keep people enjoying it. They don't want people doing like, there's that famous park in, is it London? Where they stand on their soapboxes and they have their debates. Well, that's allowed there. I mean, but they don't want that going on there.
It's more of a sideshow type act there, though. Like, people don't really pay them much attention as far as I understand.
I've seen something where you get some pretty big groups going and guys going back and forth and the crowds. I mean, but
people aren't, I mean,
they go there for that, though.
Yeah, they're being entertained, but these guys don't come down off their boxes and start
handing out papers
to individual crowd members, do they?
Not as far as I know, no.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing here, too, is that they're saying that nobody can pass out pamphlets. It's not Christians can't pass out pamphlets. It's nobody can go and pass out pamphlets.
If we went there as a group of atheists, we would have the same consequences as them.
So it's another case of Christians thinking that they should be able to get privilege.
Yeah, they're trying to extend their privilege to do what they want just because of their religious beliefs.
Right.
No, they should just go to a different public park where they don't have that ordinance.
Right.
Or just stay at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not fucking bother people who don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
You're like a door-to-door fucking salesman out bothering people who are just out there to enjoy something else.
Yeah.
If they want those kinds of things, they know where to go and fucking find it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The plaintiffs, Matt Swart, Jeremy Chong, Gabriel Emerson, and Caden Hood, say they were given copies of the new ordinances this past April and stopped gathering at the park. They say the ordinances infringe on their First Amendment right of freedom of speech and religion. An attorney for the students sent a letter to the city's Commissioner of Cultural Affairs in January and May asking them to change the rules to allow the customary vibrant, colorful, energetic, and vigorous exchange of ideas that have always characterized America's best public places. But to no avail, the Chicago Tribune reported. The students are now arguing that the park is a public forum and that they should be able to congregate and speak freely and distribute free literature without restrictions. This isn't just about evangelists, attorney John Mock told the newspaper. This is for politicians campaigning, political activists, and whoever else wants free speech. We didn't want it to get to this point, Swart said. But yeah, you did, because you got an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Our desire is simply to share the gospel in the park.
Well, and
to go to a different park.
Yeah, well, he's probably referring to the fact that they didn't want to have to file a court case. We were hoping that they would just roll over and let us do whatever the fuck we wanted without having to go through the court system.
Even though there's already an ordinance in place for this very thing.
Yeah.
Probably because of people just like me.
Yeah. Probably because they got tired of handling complaints from people who are like, hey, man, I went out to go see the Bean, and
I'm being harassed.
Yeah, it's like walking down the Vegas Strip and people handing me all kinds of fucking pamphlets to come and see their skin flicks or their girly shows or whatever the fuck is going on.
Listen to their rap demo tape.
Yeah, just leave me the fuck alone. I'm here doing my touristy thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be bothered by you.
Yeah, because, I mean, I guess thinking of that not as a park but as an art exhibit, it's an outdoor art museum almost.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah.
With giant sculptures and
Yeah, and I would imagine that there are rules against distributing pamphlets and shit in all kinds of places like that. That's not, people aren't going there to have flyers distributed to them. They're going there for whatever other reason, depending on the venue that they went there in the first place. If they wanted to learn more about your church, they can go and find that elsewhere. That's not what they fucking showed up for.
They need to do what Banksy did. Maybe not him, but this thing makes you think of Banksy a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a spot in Venice where a lot of artists set up and they paint and they sell their paintings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Banksy went there and he didn't have a permit, nothing, and he did a painting. And he got arrested while doing it, and someone else, his camera crew shows what he was painting. And he was painting a scene of Venice with a giant cruise ship coming down the canal. Then the guy turns the camera around, and there's a cruise ship parked in the fucking channel in Venice. He's like, he's just showing reality. All these other artists are doing like fancy portraits of Venice, making it seem all classy and lovely and stuff, and he's just painting what's actually fucking here.
Dude, have you ever seen any of those cruise ships up close?
No, but
some of the big ones, they're fucking enormous, man. They're giant.
Yeah.
I can't fucking believe how big these things are. I went on a cruise on what I guess is kind of a smallish boat, and it took you, 5 or 6 minutes to walk from one end of the boat to the other at a good clip. And I didn't explore all parts of the boat, and some of these other ships that I see out there and in commercials and stuff, I'm like, holy fuck, it's a floating city is what it is.
I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather took me up in northern Wisconsin to go fishing on Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And we went by a place that took apart old boats, like cruise ships and stuff. My grandpa's like, oh, this one's been here for like 20 years. They're just
picking away at the skeleton?
Picking away deck by deck. And I'm like, that thing, it's just a giant skeleton in this dry dock, just fucking enormous.
Yeah.
And that was probably small. I was like 12 years old compared to what's on the fucking ocean now. Yeah. They're crazy.
It's insane. I can't believe how big they are.
I can't wait for Waterworld to be true.
Have you got more for us?
Sure. A few weeks ago, the Democratic National Committee formally acknowledged what has been evident for quite some time. Non-religious voters are a critical part of the party's base.
Yeah.
In a one-page resolution passed at its annual summer meeting, the DNC called on Democratic politicians to recognize and celebrate the contributions of non-religious Americans who make up 1/3 of Democrats.
Yay!
That's a big chunk.
That's bigger than any other religious affiliation, yeah.
In response, Robert Jeffress, a Dallas pastor with close ties to Trump, appeared on Fox News saying that the Democrats were finally admitting they are a godless party.
What a turd. I think we watched this. I can't remember if we covered it on the show or not. I think we did. Robert Jeffress's appearance on Fox News talking about this, about the Democrats.
The good without we
finally, finally admitting to the world that they're the godless party.
The good without God stuff?
What?
It was when he said you can't be good without God.
I don't know. I can't remember if he said that or not.
Yeah.
Probably.
This was hardly a new argument. Conservative Christian leaders have been repeating some version of this claim for years and have often called on religious conservatives and Republican politicians to defend the country against a growing wave of liberal secularism. And it's true that liberals have been leaving organized religion in high numbers over the past few decades. But blaming the Democrats, as Jeffress and others are wont to do, doesn't capture the profound role that conservative Christian activists have played in transforming the country's religious landscape, and the role they appear to have played in liberals' rejection of organized religion.
Yeah, when you get a bunch of lunatics talking about how much they love Jesus and here's why, people run from that kind of shit. It's like, you sound like a crazy person. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
Mm-hmm. Researchers haven't found a comprehensive explanation for why the number of religiously unaffiliated Americans has increased over the past few years. The shift is far too large and too complex. But a recent swell of social science research suggests that even if politics wasn't the sole culprit, it was an important contributor.
Well, Matt, it's just a sure sign that we're in the last days.
Politics can drive whether you identify with a faith, how strongly you identify with that faith, and how religious you are, says Michelle Margolis, a political science professor at the University of Pennsylvania. And some people on the left are falling away from religion because they see it as so wrapped up with Republican politics. Over the course of a single generation, the country has gotten a lot less religious. As recently as the early 1990s, less than 10% of Americans lacked a formal religious affiliation, and liberals weren't all that much likelier to be non-religious than the public overall. Today, however, nearly 1 in 4 Americans are religiously unaffiliated. That includes almost 40% of liberals, up from 12% in 1990, according to the 2018 General Social Survey. The share of conservatives and moderates who have no religion, meanwhile, has risen less dramatically. The result is that today most people's political ideology is more tightly tethered to their religious identity. The overlap is far from complete. There are still some secular conservatives and even more religious liberals. In fact, the majority of the Democratic voters are religiously affiliated. But the more liberal you are, the less likely you are to belong to a faith. Whereas if you're a conservative, you're more likely to say you're religious.
Mm-hmm.
And so this stuff is obvious, but the numbers that were in there and stuff were kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah?
I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it's a sure indication that religion is losing on just about any front that you want to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of relates to the story that we talked about earlier with the school teacher the school board member who thought that evolution shouldn't be taught because it was discovered in the 1800s and has never been proven. Well, you're just fucking wrong about that. And that's why I think a lot of younger people are leaving, is because they look at the things that religion is offering them, which is, we're going to teach you how to hate other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to teach you about all of these weird magic spells that you can cast yourself, and that other things are evil all over the place, and that you're always under threat of demonic possession and demonic influence all around you. And they can look at the world that they've experienced thus far and look at things on the internet and figure out that you're full of shit and you're driving them away.
Yeah.
The religious and the religions that these religious people are following is what is turning people away from religion, because people can look at their phones, they can look at their computers, their TV, anywhere, and see that all of these claims that they're making are demonstrably false. They say that evolution isn't a fact. Well, bullshit, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
They talk about intercessory prayer. Okay, well, what kind of testing can we use to determine whether prayer actually works or not? They see all of the different denominations of any one brand of faith, and they go, you guys are all arguing amongst yourselves. Maybe you should sort this stuff out amongst yourselves before you start trying to teach other people, when the people who you previously have taught now disagree with you about other points of doctrine or other contentious issues in the Bible or other religious beliefs that you may hold. And the demonization of other people that you deem as lesser than you because they're gay or they're of another race or what have you.
Believe.
And see that those are all really terrible arguing points in favor of a loving God that you want to bring people into his fold. And they're losing people in droves because of that kind of thing. So it's not a surprise, but it is a little, I would say that I would be surprised that religion hasn't learned this lesson as of yet, but I guess I'm really not, because
they still have members.
Religion is a stifling influence. You're not going to learn new things. The school board lady was complaining about something from the 1800s, but wants to reinforce her belief that this should be discarded by using a belief that's older than that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just stupid.
Yeah.
That's 1800 years old.
Hello. My name is Tony from the Conversations with God podcast. And as the name suggests, on that podcast, I talk to the creator of the universe, God. We discuss philosophy, cooking, death, and diseases, amongst other important subjects. And you're listening to the Godless Rebelution podcast, which is much better than the Conversations with God podcast.
Why don't you like Tolkien? I don't understand.
Because it's nonsense.
It's fantasy. What do you mean? Like, what's wrong with nonsense?
Well,
does everything have to be true to you?
Okay, I'm a Catholic.
Welcome aboard. So I won the debate.
You win. If nonsense is okay, I'm in.
Okay, good.
And I can drink as much red wine as I want.
Right, because it's not wine anymore.
It's not wine anymore. I'm absolutely off my on the blood of Christ.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
So the next story we have comes to us from Pathos. This is Michael Stone's blog out on Pathos. It says, Colorado Congressman, legal marijuana is evidence of spiritual war against Christians. This kind of fits with a theme we've had on the past couple shows, talking about cancer, marijuana, legalization efforts, all that kind of stuff. So I thought we could talk about this. It says, Dazed and Confused. Colorado Congressman Doug Lamborn claims that legal marijuana is proof that the left is waging a spiritual war on conservative Christians. Marijuana Moments reports, a U.S. congressman said on Saturday that marijuana dispensaries operating on the same streets as churches is evidence of the spiritual war our nation is entrenched in. Representative Doug Lamborn, Republican of Colorado, made the comment in a video statement that was presented at an In God We Trust rally organized by the nonprofit Truth and Liberty Coalition.
Mm-hmm. Well, if they don't like the marijuana dispensaries, move your fucking church.
Yeah.
It's another one of those things where we want to say that everybody has free will and you can do as you want as long as you're not harming other people and
don't do this.
That we agree with it. You can only exercise your free will when it's something we agree with and it doesn't harm other people. Unless it does harm other people that we want to harm, then that's fine too.
Now, I'm going to lay out my ground rules here for this argument.
Okay.
God created everything, right?
Sure.
In his worldview.
Yes, probably.
So that means God created marijuana.
Uh-huh.
So that means God can create evil, right?
Well, it's God who created it, but it's man's fallen nature, and it's man's sin that would lead man to use these substances in a way in which God would not approve.
So then it's God that tempts you with things, not the devil.
No, because Satan is trying to get you to use those things in a way that God never intended, Ryan.
Well, but God made something that when you smoke it, it makes you feel better, right?
I don't know, Ryan.
Well, go try it. When you get out of church today, when you pass that abortion clinic, go to that dispensary.
See if the devil is enticing you with his Satan's lettuce, the devil's lettuce. This guy, there's actually a clip of this guy talking about this.
What did we just do?
On the story. I clicked on
Let us acknowledge the spiritual war our nation is entrenched in. We need to look no further than our own streets to see the evidence of this conflict. Marijuana dispensaries are on the same streets as thriving churches. Abortion clinics sit just blocks away from pregnancy centers. In our state house, legislators gather to impose radical gender theory on young students, while parents in godly homes teach their children the virtue of marriage. It is easy to despair in the face of ignorance and evil.
Oh, tell me about it. We're despairing right now watching you.
But today we gather to declare where our trust lies. Our trust lies in God.
Maybe yours does. Not everybody's, and not even the people who would agree with you that a God exists will argue with you about what that God is.
Yep.
What its nature is, what it does, what it can and cannot do, what it has done in the past, what it will do in the future. Fucking silly bullshit, man. And it looks like he's in some government area. The audio's terrible.
Yeah.
But he's
probably in his bedroom.
Is he using his official government Twitter account to talk about this bullshit?
Right.
Well, no, because they said this was put out at a conference. This is a video that was shown at a conference.
Oh, right. In a video statement that was presented at an In God We Trust rally.
Yeah, so he didn't put this. I mean, it might have made its way onto social media through one of their platforms, but it doesn't like he put it out on social media.
Yeah, he's wearing his congressional pin, which really is kind of a uniform for Congress people. They don't let military personnel wear their uniforms to talk about shit like this.
But
if you're a congressman, then it's a different deal.
But I can tell he's very American.
Uh-huh.
He has 4 flags.
4. There's probably more in the periphery, but we just can't see it because it's zoomed in on him.
Well, that's American as fuck right there.
America, we need more flags. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling the patriotism. I need more flags, baby.
No. I'm guessing he made that in his bedroom.
We need more cowbell and we need more flags.
Yeah, at least 50 of them.
Next up.
That guy did it, whatever it is.
This is it's just such a sad sack picture of this guy.
He's a clown.
This comes to us from Hemant Mehta on his blog, Friendly Atheist on Pathos, dated September 13th. It says, Jesus-loving former Ohio mayor. The 4-year-old girl I raped was a willing participant.
No, you fucking piece of shit.
Hubbard, Ohio Mayor Richard Keenan.
Yeah, he definitely did that.
Wants you to know that he really, really loves Jesus. Keenan said the opportunity for government service should make officials want to do their best. It's not about me, it's about serving the people, he said. Keenan also brings another element to the office. I'm a Christian. Dedicating my life to Jesus has changed my life, he said. Don't preach it, but live it. It is a practice he takes to heart. That idea is wrapped up in wanting the best for his town.
You know what? If he really dedicates his life to Jesus, go be a fucking preacher and not a mayor.
Yeah, why are you in politics? I don't understand why Christians do so much of the things, or so many of the things that they do, in light of the belief of many of them that intercessory prayer actually works and is a very powerful thing.
Right.
Like, why the fuck are you going to the doctor? Why are you in politics? Why do you do anything besides sit in your house and pray? If you think that it can actually heal the world, why don't you do that? Every Christian in the world should coordinate together to pray for one specific thing. They should all pray that our climate crisis just evaporates, right? That it just goes away. That war is never a thing ever again. That people can live in peace and harmony together. Pick one thing, one good thing, one thing that would be good for everybody in the world, and every Christian, everybody of any religious faith, right? Because they all do it. Not all of them pray, but most religious denominations have a belief in intercessory prayer.
Yeah.
Why don't they all pick one thing?
Yeah.
One thing for them all to pray about all the time, and then just fix it. Just do it. Just fix it that way. It'll be fine. Then we could all be better. Everybody. Surely if the power of one person's prayer can change things, then everybody all praying for the same thing at the same time until it happens will manifest itself in reality, right? I mean, God surely wouldn't ignore every single religious person on the face of the earth all praying for the same thing.
It sounds like a better idea than those people in Russia flying around in a helicopter dropping holy water out of it.
I saw the headlines for that and I was like, man, people do some weird shit in the name of religion. Story continues and says, wait, sorry, that's from 2010 when Keenan was sworn in as mayor, a position he held for 2 years. What's the proud Christian up to now?
Oh, I wonder.
Let's check in on him, shall we?
Fucking shitbag.
Apparently blaming a 4-year-old girl for all those times he molested and raped her over the course of 3 years, calling her a willing participant and suggesting that she initiated it.
This went on for 3 years. Did it start when she was 4? Or 1?
Oh, God. I don't want to think about that.
Both are fucked up, but one is slightly more fucked up than the other.
According to the filing by Assistant Prosecutor Gabriel Wildman, Keenan, 65, made the admissions to his wife, a pastor, a social worker, and his brother and sister-in-law.
They're all the same person?
His wife, a pastor, a social worker, his brother-in-law, and his sister-in-law. So 5 people separately, apparently, unless they all share a title somewhere.
I was just hoping it was saying he confesses to his wife, who is also a pastor, also a social worker, and his brother and sister-in-law. They're all the same person.
I get you. It states that after Keenan voluntarily admitted himself into a Warren psychiatric facility after his release from Trumbull, he told a social worker, quote, he was feeling suicidal because he had been molesting the child victim for approximately the past 2 years, end quote. It states that during those discussions, Keenan blamed the victim for initiating the acts and called her a willing participant.
A child that young knows absolutely nothing about sex.
There's not even a sexual urge.
Yeah. Well, and even if there were a sexual urge, they don't have the mental and emotional stability and maturation in order to understand the ramifications of what's going on.
Yeah.
They can't give consent because they don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
They're not
their brains aren't even fully developed yet.
Yeah. Don't worry, everyone. I'm sure he wasn't a true Christian when he was raping her.
Mm-hmm.
Wonkette's Robin Panaccia explains the possible obstacle in this case. Yeah, sure, you would think that with all the confessing that Keenan would not have the balls to say he's not guilty, but apparently he does. Because some of those confessions could be considered privileged, prosecutors may have trouble getting them into evidence. In Ohio, however, if a spouse wants to testify against their partner, they are allowed to do so. And for some reason, I'm not too sure that Diane is going to decline. I sure as hell wouldn't. Someone who thinks a 4-year-old is seducing them is probably not someone you want to be married to or protect.
Well, then you got the brother-in-law and sister-in-law who also knew.
Uh-huh. And his pastor.
Well, our pastor, is that protected?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Let's hope his wife does the right thing. Well, and that may be up to individual states. I don't know what the federal statutes are for that. Keenan, who pleads not guilty to the charges despite his confession, will begin his trial next April. He's currently free on $75,000 bond, and Jesus still loves him.
The one thing
he'll be welcomed with open arms into heaven.
They didn't say who the child belonged to. If it was a family member, if it was his own child. Which
I didn't say in Hemant's reporting here.
So if that's his own child, sure as shit she's going to fucking tell on him.
You would hope.
I would hope so, yeah.
But I mean, we hear all the time about stories of, of the mother of a child who's being abused, who's aware of the abuse, but is also being abused herself or is financially dependent on her husband. So there's no real way or no easy way to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible thing. Just how about maybe don't rape kids?
Yeah, that's
looking at you, Catholic Church.
That's an easy one.
Next up, we have another story from Michael Stone out on Pathos, which is alerting us to the fact that Pentecostal Christians are burning Australia's sacred Aboriginal objects.
Oh, how nice.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, sounds like something the Taliban would do.
Yeah.
Or ISIS.
I mean, they weren't rounding up fucking Australian Indigenous children until the 80s.
Yeah. Vandalism for Jesus. Pentecostal Christians are burning Australia's sacred Aboriginal objects because they believe that traditional Aboriginal culture is a type of devil worship.
Okay, so what?
We want religious freedom.
Yeah.
No, we don't. We want religious freedom. No, we don't.
Yeah.
ABC News Australia reports an investigation by Background Briefing has uncovered dramatic scenes in the Kimberley region where Aboriginal followers of a Tongan-born preacher have set fire to artifacts considered sacred by many local elders and dismantled and burned a spiritual law ground. According to the report, the vandalism of sacred objects is being conducted by the followers of Pastor Anna Makahunu.
Good luck with that one.
Makahunu.
Nui.
Makahunu. Something like that. A young Pentecostal preacher who claims that traditional Aboriginal culture is a type of devil worship. The Daily Mail notes, Anna Makahana
Nui
arrived in Wangpata. This is, I know that I'm pronouncing these horribly, and I apologize. 100 kilometers southeast of Fitzroy, crossing in Western Australia's Kimberley in 2015. The community is a settlement of 180 predominantly Wangkatjungak-speaking people with strong links to their desert culture. But after the arrival of the young preacher, dozens were born again and baptized as Christians. ABC News Australia explains, a year after Ms. Ms. M arrived, her followers built a bonfire to destroy, quote, satanic, end quote, objects they thought were cursing their community and filmed the process. A grainy video of the bonfire shows people cheering as objects are thrown into the flames and black smoke billows into the air. Because that's something we need more of, is black smoke billowing into the air. For many years, we have been deceived by Satan and his demonic beings, an unidentified man narrates as the fire burns. Now we throw all the things that have been keeping us in bondage and slavery. As for Pastor M, her followers call her a prophetess, and she claims that she never instructed her followers to vandalize and burn the sacred Aboriginal objects, but she is pleased that they are doing it anyway.
It's just like Trump.
So she didn't put this idea into their head, like, hey,
stochastic terrorism, man. These people are bad and evil and of the devil, and then
do what you need.
And
to
then
do.
people
And we need to
follow
be rid
that
of them,
to its
and,
logical conclusion of, well, if
Let's
if
destroy
I
it.
believe the devil and evil are bad, then I should do something about that. So they do. Calling traditional Aboriginal culture demonic, the preacher said, when they talk and share the type of spirit they're using, I can say is very demonic. I've been seeing that is all connected to witchcraft. That is not from God. That's all from the devil.
I wonder if they're speaking their native tongue, and she's like, oh, that sounds fucking weird. It's demonic.
Commenting on those Christians committing the senseless vandalism, Aboriginal leader and Australian Senator Pat Dodson said, they are the type of virus that has really got no credibility. It's about the lowest act you could perform in trying to indicate to a fellow human being that you have total disdain for anything they represent. Indeed, the acts of senseless vandalism in the name of Christianity are despicable, but not surprising. There is a long and well-established pattern of conservative Christians demonizing and eradicating native cultures around the world. This is just the latest example of Christians behaving badly. Bottom line, Pentecostal Christians are burning Australia's sacred Aboriginal objects because they believe that traditional Aboriginal culture is a type of devil worship. So that's fun.
Yeah.
We got Christians destroying the evidence of other cultures and what they believed and practiced. Because, we don't want to fucking learn anything or maintain historical evidences of things. And
the Australian Aborigines are one of the oldest human groups on the planet, too.
Yeah. And I would guess that if these people were here in America, they would be railing against dismantling the statues of Confederate soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
But, we can't have any of this devil worship shit about.
Right.
But I have always thought
evil and bad.
We don't build statues of losers.
Oh, I was just thinking there's probably a statue of John McCain around somewhere. And Donald Trump thought he was a loser.
Right.
Yeah, but he didn't lose a war. Well,
oh, well, that's
kind of like
debatable.
He wasn't really in it.
Well, he was taken out of action for a little while. I think he was missing from action for a while.
He was just staying at a hotel.
He was MIA somewhere.
Yeah.
For a little while.
I think it was that lovely resort called Hanoi Hilton.
Something like that.
Yeah.
After
5 stars. I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. After his airplane went pow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. It was 5.
They were kind enough to put him up in this luxury hotel for quite a while.
Yeah.
He had absolutely no reason to be called a hero. Okay, I prefer people who aren't shot down.
Yep.
Fucking dick.
Next up. Speaking of the Orange Menace, we have a guy who thinks that he's the bee's knees. He's the best thing since sliced bread, the cat's pajamas, the capybara's spats. He's awesome.
Hoo-hoo gold.
Sorry, that was a whole series of hoo-hoo gold moments. This comes to us also from Patheos. This is from Sarah Beth Kaplan. Preacher, Trump will bring about the greatest spiritual awakening in history. I'm telling you now, brothers and sisters.
Then why are the numbers at record lows?
Well, he's going to bring it about. He's not yet brought in it.
Oh. Okay.
Pastor James Robinson has always been on the side of whatever Republican is elected in office. He's currently serving on Donald Trump's Evangelical Advisory Board. That's a thing?
Yeah.
Presidents have Evangelical
Trump
Advisory
has
Boards?
an Evangelical Advisory Board.
Well, that's swell. Still, it's strange to hear him brag about Trump as a savior rather than just supporting his policies. In a video posted Monday, Robinson argued that Trump was going to usher in the greatest spiritual awakening in history. Oh, it's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah,
I wonder how he backs that up.
I prayed for all our presidents. Some of them have asked me to pray with them.
Ooh.
Okay.
This one asked me to pray with him, travel with him.
Why are you being so spooky?
My wife.
Did he touch
He
your
asked
wife?
us to surround him with prayer. Pray for him to be surrounded with wisdom. Tell him about people who are wise.
Because he doesn't know anybody.
Well, clearly your prayer is not working, sir.
No.
He's a little soft. Would you increase his
he's almost all the way
volume just a
up.
bit? Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He's just speaking ever so soft. He's trying to draw you in.
He's about maxed out on the scales here.
He's trying to draw us in with his soft talk. You gotta listen real careful.
Trying to sound sexy.
I think that's an answer to prayer.
Wait, he thinks what is an answer to prayer?
To be surrounded with wisdom. Tell him about people who are wise.
Tell him about people who are wise.
I think that's an answer to prayer.
What is?
I believe every positive thing that's happening. And I would look Donald Trump, the cabinet, and the Congress straight in the eyes, and I'd say, every great and positive thing that is happening today is happening as an answer to prayers of.
What a simplistic and childish view of the world, right?
Yep.
Everything good that happens is because of Jesus, and everything bad that happens is because of the devil.
Something else.
He didn't say everything that's happening.
All the good things.
All the good things.
Yeah. All the good things are because of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Which I have written on my hand right now, and it's blank.
There's a lot of good things going on in the world, a lot of terrible things too, but to say that all the good things are just because of Jesus and all the bad things are something else.
Well, the rich are getting richer. I'm paying more taxes.
Well, and good depends on your point of view, right? Like, if I'm a fucking sociopathic CEO who's raiding corporations and firing people, putting, thousands of people out of work, but it's enriching me, I think that's awesome.
But the people below you think it's pretty fucking shitty.
Yeah, that's a really bad thing for them. Okay?
Committed, sold out people God often refers to as the remnant.
The Remnant.
Those
Good movie.
who have eyes to see and ears to hear and a desire to do the will of the Father and see his blessings on everyone. I believe the positive things that are happening are an answer to prayer. And I believe the willingness for this man to stand up against all the assault.
Donald Trump standing up against assault. That's pretty rich.
He just lies and hides.
Well, the guy who brags about sexual assault in an interview with somebody is standing up against the assaults on him being assaulted for assaulting people.
Yeah.
And who kicks the press out because he doesn't like their questions.
Their tone,
and keep trying to do what he believes is best is a miracle of God. And I believe if we keep praying,
small miracle.
He will hear, and he will have people sitting in front of him who will so speak the truth.
They will so speak the truth.
This guy looks like a puppet, doesn't he? The way his mouth, the lines around his mouth and everything are, looks like he's just a fucking puppet.
Like Jim Henson has his hand up his ass?
Yeah. Jim Henson's evil twin?
Yeah.
Dale Henson?
Convincingly and with wisdom. And I believe he will respond. We pray. And I think listen to me.
No.
I think we can.
He must have seen me hovering over the pause button there. No, listen to me. Listen to me.
And I think listen to me. I think we can witness the greatest spiritual awakening in history. And one of the least likely people, many of you would say, will be used by God to accomplish God's will for the blessing and benefit of this nation.
I noticed at one point he had mentioned that Trump is doing what he thinks is good and God is on his side.
Good and righteous and holy.
Hitler thought what he was doing was good,
but
too.
You have to say it like it's good and righteous and holy.
Hitler thought what he was doing was good and righteous and holy, too.
You got to record your Christian message as an ASMR video.
And he had the Catholic Church on his side, too.
Oh, religious people. You're fun. You're fun.
Are they, though?
No, it's really not fun.
I wouldn't go to one of their parties.
I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah.
Because they sound like they're not very fun at all.
No.
All right. On the other side, we got some fun science news for you.
Ooh.
For your chompers.
I'll science you.
Oh, we're going to be dropping some science on you.
Hey, everybody, I'm Mary.
And I'm Shelley.
We have the Latter-day Lesbian podcast. It's the podcast about an ex-Mormon gay girl just trying to figure out her life.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do that every week on a podcast, don't we?
We do.
You're supposed to jump in.
Sorry.
Just jump in anytime.
Okay. I'm here.
We are available on your favorite podcast app. Just look for Latter-day Lesbian, where your favorite podcast can be heard.
And you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
And this is something I've never told anybody, but I used to bring communion to the hospitals. Houston's full of them. And I gave this one lady communion, and she immediately puked. And I thought, okay, what are you supposed to do? And so I gathered, all the vomit and the host in this little plastic bag. And then I started thinking, how can I leave Jesus there? That is just disgusting. What can I do? I swallowed it. Swallowed the whole bag.
Oh, wow.
Then I did. I couldn't stand to leave him there.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you.
Welcome back, peoples.
Oh, shit. We're back.
Here we are all together. All together. This we wanted to talk about some sciencey stuff. We haven't talked about sciencey stuff for a little minute, a little bit, a minute, a little while,
a few days.
It's been some episodes. This comes to us from Phys.org.
Whoa.
There's a new way to repair tooth enamel.
But
for all of our listeners who may be having some tooth enamel problems.
Now I'm looking at this photomograph. That tooth ain't in no head.
I know, right? Like, how do they even know that it would do the same thing inside a human head that it's doing here?
What if my saliva has some sort of like raptor fucking acid built into it and it doesn't work?
He's dripping saliva on it. That's what he's doing. He's dripping saliva. Got to make sure that it doesn't soak it all up.
Whose saliva? Like, is that Jeff's? Did Jeff spit in a tube again?
Jeff?
Yeah.
Jeff Birdie. We were talking about Jeff Birdie during our little break. So this comes to us from Phys.org. It says a team of researchers in Zhejiang. I'll bet it's Zhejiang. That's good. Zhejiang University and Xiamen University found a way to repair human tooth enamel. In their paper published in the journal Science Advances, the group describes their process and how well it worked when tested.
I hope they tested it.
Humans have battled tooth decay for thousands of years. The longer we live, the more challenging the problem becomes. And I've heard this from my dentist. Like, they always ask me whenever I go in, like, what is, where for your treatment today, what are obstacles to any future treatment? Is it an issue of having not enough time available? The distance is too far away. Is it an issue of cost? So you do that, and then it's, what is the most important thing to you as far as your oral health care? Is it appearance? Is it comfort? Is it use?
I just want teeth.
Yeah. I want to be able to chew food and look okay while I'm doing it. Humans have battled tooth decay for thousands of years. Many consumables lead to loss of the hard enamel that protects teeth from decay. And once it's lost, it never grows back. It's like having part of your tooth amputated, the part that protects your tooth.
It's like the clear coat on your car.
That's just never going to grow back.
Once it goes away, it doesn't come back, and then it rusts.
Mm-hmm. The current standard treatment involves removal of rotted tooth material and filling the cavity with a hard replacement material. For many years, scientists have sought a way to replace tooth enamel once it's lost, but until now, such efforts have not led to a suitable replacement. In this new effort, the researchers in China report that they have at long last found a solution. To repair the tooth enamel, the researchers first created extremely tiny 1.5 nanometer diameter clusters of calcium phosphate, the main ingredient in natural enamel. Each of the tiny clusters was then prepared with the chemical compound triethylamine.
I don't know if I want those in my mouth.
Doing so prevented the clusters. You're putting clusters in my mouth.
But
triethylamine.
That looks like something if I saw it on the outside of a transport truck and it flipped over, I'd want to run away.
Doing so prevented the clusters from clumping together. The clusters were then mixed with a gel that was applied to a sample of crystalline hydroxyapatite, a material very similar to human enamel. Testing showed that the clusters fused with the tooth stand-in and in doing so created a layer that covered the sample. They further report that the layer was much more tightly arranged than prior teams had achieved with similar work. They claim that such tightness, like a dish, it's tight like a dish.
Oh, I thought it was like a tiger.
That was a little Mormon reference for you.
Mm-hmm.
Allowed the new material to fuse with the old as a single layer, rather than multiple crystalline areas. The team then carried out the same type of testing using real human teeth that had been treated with acid to remove the enamel. They report that I hope they were not like in a person's head.
Oh, they were.
When they're doing this. Yes, it was the movie Saw, that's an actual thing that really happens, and then they just harvest all of the human parts for other testing. The team that carried out the same type of testing, they had the enamel, blah, blah, blah. They report that within 48 hours of application, crystalline layers of approximately 2.7 micrometers had formed on the teeth. Close examination with a microscope showed that the layer had a fish scale-like structure, very similar to that of natural enamel. Physical testing showed the enamel to be nearly identical to natural enamel in strength and wear resistance. It also makes your bum fall off. Just your butt cheeks just fall off.
Hey,
that's what I've heard.
That's to some a good trade-off.
You can have good teeth,
bum,
and no butt, or bad teeth and a great butt.
Do you want to
trade off, people? You got to weigh your options. The researchers note that more work is required before their technique can be used by dentists, primarily to make sure that it does not have any undesirable side effects.
Yeah, like you just grow one giant tooth.
One giant
like it just keeps spreading. It like it grows from one tooth to the next, and then you just got one tooth.
Just one like does it fuse to the bottom as well? Like the bottom set of teeth and the top set of teeth fuse into one tooth?
You just got one tooth, and then we'll do a podcast like this from now on.
And then you can't pass food or drink or anything through it, so you just die, and then that sucks.
Oh.
Sorry everybody. Wasn't as encouraging a news as we thought it would be, because apparently your bum falls off and your teeth fuse together.
And you can't eat bacon.
Can't eat bacon, can't drink beer, and so your life is ruined.
My big question with this. So it took 48 hours.
Uh-huh.
Does that mean that if this was in a person's mouth...
Dos días, as they would say in the Mexicans.
I'm in the Englishans.
Uh-huh.
Would they not be able to drink or eat anything for 48 hours while this whole thing is like curing and doing its thing?
Maybe. I guess it depends on the process and once it's refined more and all of that jazz. Yeah. I'll bet they could just use,
like a mouth guard type thing.
Yeah, like a mouth guard thing, or they've got the like whitening trays where you can spray the goop in there, or put the goopy gel in there and put it on your teeth and make them whiter for a while.
And then you just wear those for 48 hours until it's done doing its thing.
Yeah, and instead of making your teeth softer and whiter, it'll make them harder and the same color they were before, hopefully. That would be cool. It'd be cool if they could add whitening agent to this.
Yeah.
So that then your teeth are harder and more white. That would be good. They'd be more white and delightsome.
Don't want to make
another Mormon reference. Woo! That's two.
I don't want to put new enamel on my coffee stained teeth to make them not wet.
That was awesome. Hoo-hoo gold plates. All right. Well, that will just about wrap things up for us this evening. You guys have anything else? Wine rants, complaints?
No. I mean, I think everything's going good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'd like to outsource some debate stuff to our listening audience. If you have heard any good arguments against presuppositionalism, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to forward them to us at the GodlessRebelution at gmail.com. It's not the Godless Rebelution, it's just GodlessRebelution at gmail.com. Or you can tweet us at TGR Podcast. Or you can call and leave us a message at 330-81-REBEL. I haven't actually set our phone number for some time now.
I want to say something different.
A little out of practice. We did get a voicemail message from listener Jonathan Areola last week.
Yes.
And it was encouraging us in having Christine on the show because he knows somebody who also works with her and was looking forward to hearing it. So thank you very much, Jonathan.
So we hope you enjoyed
it. Nice to hear your message. And hope you enjoyed the show. She's fucking awesome. I really like Christine a whole lot.
And I saw her the next day.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Where did you see her?
At my buddy's office.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she came to hang out. I was like, hey.
I know you.
Fancy seeing you again.
She's just hanging out?
Yeah.
Were they like talking about the work that she's doing?
Yeah,
or,
just bullshitting.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of cool. She's all over the place, man.
Yeah.
You never know where she's going to pop up.
It's like a frog.
She's like secret pot ninja just sneaking up on you.
A ninja's
Have
way
some
better.
free marijuana, some legal marijuana.
Oh, I'm a federal employee, fuck.
Some legal cannabis. Sorry, we don't want to say marijuana.
Right.
because that's the part that's scary.
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce it.
Yep.
If you make it sound all Mexican, then people are not going to want it.
Have some fairy dust.
It's not like it's a taco.
Ooh, but we want those.
Before we go, I want to make sure that we thank our Patreon supporters because they're awesome. They are the people who allow you to listen to the show and not be assaulted by advertisements for doors or underwear or socks or beds or
colored smocks.
Underwear.
Yeah, colored smocks that you can prepare food in. Things like that. So thank you all very much. That would be Alan Firth.
Newmania.
Christy Kalbach.
Gaytheist.
Stephen Andrews.
Let them eat kafefe.
Two Skeptical Chaps.
Vanessa.
Don't be a Richard.
Utah Outcasts.
Wesley Aaron.
Andrew Vodopich.
Jeremy Goodson.
Brandy Hamrick.
Megan Kennedy.
The Foz.
Jesse Pointner.
Bobby Digital.
Freethinker 215 supports the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. And I also want to thank Freethinker 215 for calling to my attention the fact that I had misnumbered the most recent episode when I put it out on our Patreon account. Like, I think I said the correct thing, and the file name was correct, but in typing out the number of the episode in the post, I put in the wrong fucking number, and he let me know, and I was able to fix it pretty quickly. So thank you very much for doing that. If anybody else spots any errors, please let me know as soon as possible so that I can fix them as soon as possible.
Janet Uter.
Savita Kuna.
Taylor Grin.
Purple Dragon.
Captain Samples.
And Corey Ebert. Thank you all very, very much. We really appreciate it. And as I've mentioned for the last few shows now, all of the proceeds from this show and all shows through the end of the year will be going to our friend Brandy Hamrick, who has been diagnosed with cancer and is currently going through chemotherapy after having a large section of her colon removed. And she's having a tough go of it, man. It's rough. I feel awful for everything that she's having to go through. So hopefully we can help allay some fears and some anxiety about having enough money to buy basics like food and pay the bills by donating what little we make on the show toward her GoFundMe campaign that I will post a link to in the show notes. Thank you all very much to our Patreon supporters who are helping us to do that. If you are not currently a Patreon supporter and would like to become one, you can do so by going to patreon.com/GodlessRebelution, where you can contribute as little as $1 per episode, and then you get fun things like extended episodes, bonus episodes every now and then. We do extended outtakes sometimes, longer episodes. You get it before anybody else. All kinds of fun stuff like that. And you will be helping Brandy. If you're not currently a Patreon supporter and have thought about doing it, you should go and do it now. If you even just want to do it through the end of the year, knowing that all of that money is going to Brandy, and then you cancel your Patreon subscription to the show, that would be perfectly fine. You should do that as well, because as I've said, every dime that we make from the show, through until the end of the year, we will be donating all of it to Brandy. So thank you very much for doing that. Thank you all very much for listening. Thank you guys for coming down here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
I would like to pre-thank all of our listeners for sending me ideas on debate stuff to be used for presuppositionalism. That will be very fun. I look forward to reading some of the things that our listeners will be sending in, or watching some videos, anywhere that they know has a really good argument or something that they thought was interesting would be greatly appreciated. So thank you in advance for that. And so until next week, crucify Voldemort.
Just leave us a review. For God's sake, leave us a fucking review.
We haven't had any reviews for a little bit. Yeah, that would be great.
And rate the show 5 times a day toward 4-year-old consent.
Ooh. You got anything else for us?
Not really.
Okay. Well, we'll stop here then. Not a single gum double freshens your mouth like. It's going to be stuck in my head all fucking day now. Double mint gum.
I'm going to have to go grab that shotgun.